Hi there. Now we are going to read lesson 132. I lose the world from all I thought it was. I lose the world from all I thought it was. What keeps the world in chains but your beliefs? And what can save the world except your capital S self? Belief is powerful indeed. The thoughts you hold are mighty, and illusions are as strong in their effect as in the truth. As is the truth, I'm sorry. And illusions are as strong in their effect as is the truth. A madman thinks the world he sees is real and does not doubt it, nor can he be swayed by questioning his thoughts' effects. It is but when this source is raised to question that the hope of freedom comes to him at last. This is a key line. Until we begin to raise every thought that we have into question, and we begin to ask the Holy Spirit, we begin to ask, is this really true? Until we begin to question every thought we have, we cannot hope for freedom, because freedom is to not believe thoughts that are not true. That's ultimately what freedom is. Freedom is, I will only believe, because it's not in my head, it's in my knowingness, only what is true. And what is true is what God has created. So what is true is that we are all one. We're all pure non-physical consciousness. We're non-physical energy. We exist in the mind of God. We are safe there. Having made up stories of separation, having made up beliefs that say I should fear you, that you took my love from me, that you took my joy from me, that you can give it to me, that you've got my safety. All of those thoughts that we have been taught are made up. And once you run those thoughts through the truth and you question them, but you got to be willing to be wrong about your beliefs, because when you believe that they are true, you don't want to be wrong about them. That feels really uncomfortable, to be wrong about what you have believed for 30 years or 60 years or whatever the case may be. But when you run them through the truth, because you're committed to accept only the truth for yourself, then you will begin to taste freedom. Paragraph 2, yet is salvation easily achieved, for anyone is free to change his mind, and all his thoughts change with it. The minute you decide to not be right about your thoughts, every thought that causes suffering, question it. Is this really true? Who made this up? Who taught this to me? Did I pick it up from mom? Was it modeled by my dad? Was it something that the government said was so? And you begin to question those thoughts, like the thought of marriage. Who decided that marriage is an institution? Who decided that that's what is necessary for us to be committed to each other? Who decided this? Well, if you go back and search that through history, it was just a convenience thing to be able to hand dowry from one family to the other, so that it would stay, so that it would get passed along. It also has to do with ownership. So marriage became ownership of one another. Well, God created us free, and when we begin to believe the archetype of marriage, and we begin to feel like somebody owns us, it feels uncomfortable, because we're freedom-seeking beings. We were created to expand and express, and now all of a sudden we're imprisoned. We can't do this because it upsets our spouse. We can't do that, and we can't. All the cans begin to happen, or all the shoulds begin to happen. Well, question those beliefs. Question them. Who said it was so? Who said it was so? Until you come to the place that you're going to find every ego-made belief, every man-made belief has a point of origin. When you get to that point of origin, you're going back to where that thought began. And when you stop believing what began in time, you return to the timelessness where only God's thoughts were true. God's knowingness was true. And inside of that, everything was held together without beliefs, because you didn't need to believe in anything. You knew the truth of you and everybody else, because it was the same. It was the same for all of us. Sentence number 2, now the source of thought has shifted. For to change your mind means you have changed the source of all ideas you think or ever thought or yet will think. You free the past from what you thought before. You free the future from all ancient thoughts of seeking what you do not want to find. So we free the future when we let go of the beliefs that we picked up in the past. So simple. Yet is salvation easily achieved, for anyone is free to change his mind. All his thoughts change with it. When you decide to only follow the truth, you will change. All those thoughts that you had will disappear. They have to. They begin to go away. A few remain. I know a few have remained for me, and I trust that some of those will go away. The less you use them, you lose them. There's no reason for them to stay there. Paragraph 3. The present now remains the only time. Right now remains the only time that there is. Here is the present. Here in the present is the world set free. If you're seeing what is happening right now with what is, and you're not involved with past thoughts that are comparing, contrasting, reminding you of ways that you need to protect yourself or ways other people hurt you, you're present to what is. Oh, you don't want to be with me? Okay. You want to be with me? Okay. You want to get married? Sure. You want me to stop being happy? No, I'm not going to do that for you, because I'm not going to stop being happy for me. Now, things don't bind you. You're free to keep moving, because in this now moment, you make a decision based on what is true for you, and you don't get sucked into the world having power over you. Very liberating. Paragraph 3. For as you let the past be lifted and release the future from your ancient fears, you find escape and give it to the world. We find escape and we give it to the world. We release the world. We save the world from our buying into something and make it solid and make it so real through mass conscious agreements. We just let them go. You have enslaved the world with all your fears, your doubts and miseries, your pain and tears, and all your sorrows. Press on it and keep the world a prisoner to your beliefs. So going back to Ken, he wanted to keep me prisoner to his beliefs that I was cheating on him, that I was going to use him for his money. When I bought into that, I suffered. When I stopped buying into that, I was free. I set him free. Fine, you go believe that if that's what you want. I'm not going to participate in that. But I did not come to that until I suffered for several years inside of the fear of the what ifs. If he would have questioned his fears, we both could have done this together. We both could have questioned the genesis of those fears. He wasn't cheated on until he was cheated on. Well, just because it happened doesn't mean it's happening now, or doesn't mean I'm going to do it. He didn't know who I was. He didn't trust who I was. He didn't trust his worthiness to be loved as completely as I loved him, because in the past, he believed somebody didn't love him and cheated on him. So he had to shift that belief that I am worthy of being loved. So I'm just going to stay in the space of loving and receiving love until it's shown to me that she doesn't want to be with me. And if he's awake, he would say, okay, if you don't want to be with me, okay. Free me when I am ready to go. Don't bind me. Don't bind me because you're in fear. And he couldn't really bind me, except that I agreed to it because our egos got entangled. But once my ego was seeable to me, once I realized I'm choosing another way of looking at this, then my ego wasn't being bound, because I told myself, Holy Spirit, please, what would you have me do? And I just heard, don't defend yourself, let it be. This is his story. This is not yours. Just love him unconditionally, and whatever he wants, let him have it, because that's what's going to help him feel better. And in him feeling better, I'm giving him the gift of him not being activated. Did it cost him maybe what he wanted? Possibly. Did it free him to get what he wants somewhere else? Possibly. I don't know. But the voice in my head was very clear. The voice of the Holy Spirit, I'm saying in my head and in my heart, was very clear. Don't defend yourself. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. Let it go. And look what has happened. It has freed me to find somebody who doesn't appear to be jealous, doesn't appear to have those levels, those kinds of insecurities. You know, Dan has his own stuff that he will have to deal with, as I have my own stuff that's come up with him. But if we choose to see it, we can keep those things from being the blocks to the presence of the love that is there. And that's the difference. You're either committed to seeing the truth and releasing the blocks, or you're committed to being righteous about your blocks, and then they will stay there. And guess what? It will ruin your relationship. It has to, because there's no freedom in fear, none whatsoever. So go to sentence number 5 in paragraph 3. Death strikes it everywhere because you hold the bitter thoughts of death within your mind. So death is going to strike every single opportunity for joy. It has to. Paragraph 4. The world is nothing in itself. Your mind must give it meaning, and what you behold upon it are your wishes, acted out so that you can look on them and think them real. Well, if I'm the person who can cheat, then all that Ken was waiting for is for me to possibly cheat. Usually in the unconscious world, when people feel that somebody's accusing them of cheating, most of them, listen, I've been a life coach for a long time. I see this pattern. Will say, fine, if you don't trust me, then I might as well find somebody else who does. You're feeling not trusted at home. Now you meet a coworker, you meet a neighbor, and they trust you, and it feels good to be trusted. It feels like somebody hears you. Well, you get close, you become connected. Before you know it, you're having an affair, you're having a relationship, and guess what? Your spouse is right. You cheated on them. But here's the thing. Most likely that cheating happened when we don't feel heard, when our truth is not being validated. And in the other person's mind, thinking that we're going to do something to them that we're not doing to them, they actually create the opportunity for that to happen, because egos are unconscious and we're validating patterns for each other. Why? Because when we don't get out of something with integrity, it will devolve into lack of integrity. It will devolve into providing proof of disconnection, into providing proof of that density that is what fear is all about, which is the block to love. Sentence number 4 in paragraph 4. Perhaps you think you did not make the world, but came unwillingly to what was already made, hardly waiting for your thoughts to give it meaning. Yeah, many of us think, I didn't create this. This is a terrible place. My parents brought me here. I didn't make this up. I don't want responsibility for this. Well, those of us who don't want to take responsibility for it are denying that we have power. We're saying the world has the power. Many of us are going to be miserable. We're going to want to kill ourselves. I see that all the time. People who want to kill themselves because they don't like the world that they see. All is a denial of the power that we have. Even the power that we have to kill ourselves is still power that we're using. It's our ability to decide based on what we're seeing. We need to change and think with, how do I want to see it, so that then we can begin to see what we prefer. But you cannot change what you see out there by holding what you see out there as real. You can only change what you see out there by deciding that your power to change your mind is really where it's at. That is where our power is. Our free will is our ability to choose to change how we perceive things. Paragraph 5. There is no world apart from what you wish, and herein lies your ultimate release. There is no world apart from what you wish. Ken wished to not be cheated on, so he could only see the potential of being cheated on. That is what he was seeing. That is what he wanted to see, not being cheated on. Now, he was not being cheated on, but the fear of being cheated on had him feel like I was somebody he needed to separate from. Do you get that? There is no world apart from what you wish. It's too much effort for me to defend myself against somebody who was delusional, holding on to that story for years. Clearly, I was delusional, holding on to that relationship for years when I could see it wasn't going to go anywhere. So all those years, instead of being connected and enjoying what was, instead of looking for evidence of the good, because there was lots of it, instead of pointing out what was beautiful, instead of remembering all of the good that we experienced, it became a matter of self-protection. And when two people protect themselves, you put up walls around you, guess what happens? There's no connection anymore. There's only separation. And in your separate little world, inside your little circle, you're making up an idea for yourself that you're not sharing with your beloved. Now you're two separate people. There's no relationship when there's nothing to share. Change but your mind on what you want to see, and all the world must change accordingly. I know for me, I only want to see the good in everything. I created a list of all the things about Dan that I love, and I keep adding to it on a regular basis, because when if my mind wants to tell me a story about what he did wrong, I immediately go to that list and see, no, here's the evidence of all the good. And this is what I know is true, and this is what I choose to focus on. So no, thank you. I'm not going to believe that voice in my head, because that voice is only interested in the death of love. That voice is only interested in ruining the relationship. Why would I want to ruin it? When God created love that emanated from me, I didn't create that love that I feel for Dan. I didn't sit down to manufacture that. It arose through me. God gave me the gift of loving somebody else so deeply. This time, thank you for Ken teaching me this. This time I am cultivating that fragile rose. I am not going to let that rose be trampled on by my ego wanting to sabotage me. Absolutely not. If Dan doesn't want to be with me, then I will love him enough to respect that. But I am not going to stop loving him. I am not going to choose to sabotage the relationship when I know I don't have to. Because I'm going to think like God thinks about Dan. And God only sees Dan's perfection. And I feel so much joy when we have so much fun together. There's so much loveliness there. There's so much laughter. When he's fully present, oh my gosh, and I'm fully present, it's beautiful. When we hold back, of course, there's a space that is left, and it feels like there's not a whole lot of connection. But even when he does that and I stay connected, I can hold him inside of that space. If I pull back, he can hold me inside of that beautiful place. But we have to commit to tending to those beautiful roses, delicate, fragile flowers that love is. It's amazing. Paragraph 5, sentence 3, ideas leave not their source. This central theme is often stated in the text and must be borne in mind if you would understand the lesson for today. Ideas leave not their source. There is no world apart from what you wish, and herein lies your ultimate release. So if you're believing thoughts that this world is real with its dysfunction, those ideas are not going to leave your mind, because you're the source of them. You're the one making them up. So if you want to change but your mind on what you want to see, and the world must change accordingly. You change your mind on what you want a world of love, joy, and peace, those ideas won't leave your source either. They will remain in your mind, but you have to cultivate and strengthen those thoughts so that the thoughts that are not true begin to be diminished. They will just simply, they'll settle down to the bottom, and you won't even think them. They're there, you're capable of them, but you won't be thinking them. They won't be actively creating the world that you experience. It is not pride which tells you that you made the world you see and that it changes as you change your mind. It is not pride that tells you that. Let's go to paragraph 6. But it is pride that argues you have come into a world quite separate from yourself, impervious to what you think, and quite apart from what you chance to think it is. It is pride that argues with truth. It is pride that says, yes, but look at what they did to me. It was ego pride, pure ego pride from Ken to say, you have the potential to cheat on me, therefore I need to be afraid of you. Pure ego pride. As it was ego pride on my part to say, I can change you because I know what's wrong with you. Pure ego pride. Paragraph 6, sentence number 2. There is no world out there that has power over you. This is the central thought the Course attempts to teach. Not everyone is ready to accept it, and each one must go as far as he can, let himself be led along the road to truth. We're only going to go to however long we're going to go. So for me, there is no world became a scary thing at first. Then it became well, if there is no world, then I get to create the world with the thoughts that I have. What kind of world do I want to experience? And once I began to shift and lift from fear to love and feel, ooh, it feels really good to see the best in people, then my world began to be created as a benevolent world, a world that has no power over me, a world that now I'm projecting, seeing the best everywhere. I see, when things happen, I see potentials for love, for kindness, opportunities for people helping each other. Most of the ugliness that my ego saw, I don't see that. It just doesn't show up in my world because I see it from a totally different perspective. I see opportunities, not problems. I see possibilities, not roadblocks. I see chances to bring love and not situations that activate fear. but that's because I've chosen to see a world, project a world that I want to enjoy according to what God has said is true. God created a world that has meaning. I'm looking for that meaning out there, and that's the world that I'm making. Sentence 5, he will return and go still farther, or perhaps step back a while and then return again. Yes, we're going to go as far as we go, and we got to be okay with that. And we got to forgive ourselves for staying a while in a spiritual cul-de-sac, going around in circles, whether we do that with a teaching or whether we stop learning altogether about spirituality. It is all perfect, absolutely perfect. Unless you choose that you want to keep going. If you choose you want to keep going and you stop, then at least admit it to yourself, I'm taking a break. The ego won't want you to admit you're taking a break, because when you admit you're taking a break, what are you taking a break from? Freedom, love, peace, bliss. Then that awareness that you're taking a break, you'll say no, which is what kept me going. Paragraph 7. But healing is the gift of those who are prepared to learn there is no world. Healing is the gift of those who are prepared to learn there is no world out there hurting me, and can accept the lesson now. So there has to be that willingness that we're accepting the truth. Their readiness will bring the lesson to them in some form which they can understand and recognize. So we're all going to get it how we get it. Like I've said before, my daughter could only read some of this spiritual stuff and enter her journey when somebody else made that suggestion, not when I made it. It took 10 years, but it was perfect for her. How beautiful is that? Which is why with my beloved now, he knows what I teach. He knows what I do. And from time to time, I'll share some things. I may give him a book, but there's no expectation. If he wants it, he wants it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. When I find my ego wanting to teach him or to coach him, I have to pull back. Sometimes I apologize for that. If, say I'm sorry, please forgive me. If I catch it, I definitely want to be forgiven. But there is no conditions in love. So I'm feeling this love for him no matter where he is. It does not matter where he is. It's between him and the Holy Spirit, because I'm projecting somebody that I see who is powerful, somebody that I see who is innocent. So whatever he does with his mind is none of my business. If he's open, I'll be with him and we'll enjoy it. If he closes off and he goes into a story, then guess what? I will just leave them right there, and I will move beyond that and say, I'll see you in a week. I'll see you in a couple of days. That's how you want to use your power. That's where you need to be. I respect it because you are holy and deserve my total respect as a beloved, holy child of the Creator. Some see it suddenly on point of death and rise to teach it. Others find it in experience that is not of this world. So some see it suddenly on point of death. That means some will have a near-death experience, or a moment where you die to the self, and then all of a sudden you know it, and then of course you want to share this. That's why so many of us who come to this journey, we cannot help but share it with others, because it's a path to freedom. Of course you want to share freedom. Others find it in experience that is not of this world, which shows them that the world does not exist, because what they behold must be the truth, and yet it clearly contradicts the world. This is where you have a transcendental experience, psychedelics, you have an experience of something otherworldly, extraterrestrial, mystical, lots of ways that we experience that truth, and then we come back into the world. We have our beliefs still to work through, and then we know, okay, this world is not real, and we begin the process of clearing our mind. Paragraph 8. And some will find it in this course, in A Course in Miracles, and in the exercises that we do today. I know for me, it clearly helped me. I found the truth somewhere else. I had a mystical experience where I connected with God. I had a moment of knowing myself as one with all that is. I felt truth. I knew the truth. All of it was shown to me in an instant. And then it took me 6 years to find A Course in Miracles, which helped me really ground myself in the practice that I now hold as my practice. Is that daily practicing, that moment by moment, now by moment. God, what would you have me do? Today's idea is true because the world does not exist. And if it is indeed your own imagining, then you can lose it from all things you ever thought it was, by merely changing all the thoughts that gave it these appearances. To lose it is to loosen up the rigidity, the solidity of the beliefs that you have about it. Begin to question your thoughts. Think of another thought. Shift the perception. Look at it differently. What does my friend think? What does the president think? What does, Mother Teresa think about this situation? Begin to think differently. See things from a different angle, and that will begin to show you how easy it is to change your perception, and how you look at things change. The sick are healed as you let go all thoughts of sickness. And the dead arise when you let thoughts of life replace all thoughts you ever held of death. So as I was dying inside, stopping doing the things that I love doing, like dancing or playing tennis with my girlfriends, or just expressing myself or writing, I stopped doing a lot of those things to control Ken. Of course, that was my ego trying to manipulate circumstances so that I could stop him. I made the world real. He has the power to hurt me because he's got the power to, my safety. As I began to let go of that, my wellness returned to me. I became more alive. I got connected with the truth of who I am. God is all that is, expressing itself as individuated through me. It expresses itself through Ken in a certain way. It expresses through me in another way. Ken didn't respect my expression because it threatened him. He had fears to look at. I wasn't accepting and respecting his expression because that I thought his expression could hurt me, could affect me. So we stopped being who we are. That made us feel dead inside. No wonder this relationship lost its juice. That juice is active in my relationship with Dan. That is what I am committed to upholding. I don't want that relationship to die unless that's what is supposed to happen between us, but it will not come from me. It will come because that's what he chooses, and then I'll respect that. But I know that what is already alive doesn't have to die if I don't believe it. So when thoughts arise that would block it, I choose to think differently. I choose to think with God again. And that joy for Dan, that love, that passion, it returns automatically. Paragraph 9. A lesson earlier repeated once must now be stressed again, for it contains the firm foundation for today's idea. You are as God created you. There is no place where you can suffer, and no time that can bring change to your eternal state. Absolutely, your eternal state will never change, but you may just believe that it has. How can a world of time and place exist if you remain as God created you, eternal, as non-physical eternal energy? Nothing can hurt you, nothing can bind you. But if you believe in time, that you were born and you're going to die, then if that's your primary belief, you're going to suffer because you're going to not believe your eternalness. You'll become timid, you'll become worried, you won't take chances, you won't take risks because you think, oh my gosh, this might kill me. Paragraph 10. What is the lesson for today except another way of saying that to know yourself is the salvation of the world? Because when you know who you are, once I realized, oh my gosh, I am the presence of love, let me just love Ken and let him do whatever he needs to do. Let me just release this man to have the life that he is choosing to experience. He's believing what he's believing. He has every right to, because he's a divine child of God and he can experience life how he wants to. It is not my job to change his mind. It is not my job to change Dan's mind. It wasn't my job to change my daughter's mind and make her read what she didn't feel like reading. We need to do what feels right to us in the moment, because that's how we begin to trust that we have the power to choose. And one day we might see that our choices either were fear-based or love-based, and until we're willing to see how powerful our choices are, we have to honor other people that choosing what they're choosing, because we have to honor that a powerful being is in our midst. To free the world from every kind of pain is but to change your mind about yourself. Once I knew Ken couldn't affect who I was, let me stop defending myself. That's when I began to free him. I began to let him be. Whatever he thought I didn't defend, I didn't have to come up with an answer. I didn't have to prove myself right. I didn't have to prove him wrong. I let all that go. I chose to be happy, and before you know it, I became very boring to him because I wasn't attacking him. I wasn't defending myself. No wonder he found another girlfriend, because he found somebody who he didn't have ideas and who didn't fear. So that's where he went. And I'm so happy for him that he's with somebody he feels free with. He didn't feel free with me anymore. He was believing those thoughts in his mind. So at least he now feels free with somebody else. There is no world apart from your ideas, because ideas leave not their source. And you maintain the world within your mind in thought. I released him with love. He feels that he got away from me because I was dangerous. Doesn't matter. He found his freedom however he found it. If it's temporary good, if it's permanent good, it does not matter. He is with the Holy Spirit, and his path is his path. My path is my path. Now with Dan, this love can stay forever because it's an eternal love that has been activated inside of us. It is our job to either receive that or to block it, period. And we will do that with the thoughts that have never left our mind. I choose to think the thoughts with God, but I also had thoughts with my ego. If those thoughts that are still in my mind that haven't left my source of my ego come up, I will begin to think about him in ways that will sabotage the relationship, guaranteed. But why would I cause myself that suffering if I know I don't have to? Paragraph 11. Yet, if you are as God created you, you can think apart from him. If you are as God created you, you cannot think apart from him, nor make what does not share his timelessness and love. Are these inherent in the world you see? Does it create like him? Unless it does, it is not real and cannot be at all. So all the thoughts that Ken and I created about fearful of each other and that person, we got to protect ourselves from them, that world is not real. It doesn't exist. That idea of me being somebody that is not trustworthy and him being somebody not trustworthy, that doesn't exist. Why? Because no matter what we thought about the other is not what God thought about us when God created us. So we could have those thoughts and block our joy, but it doesn't make them real. Nobody else buys into that story that I was cheating on him, because everybody else knew that I wasn't. And even if somebody agreed with him, so what? One person could agree with him. But it's not a real world. That's not what happened. That's why it's not a real world. It's a projection. Does it create like him? Unless it does, it is not real and cannot be at all. So if he wasn't thinking with God, we could not have created the real world, which is a world of love and connection. I want to think with God, so I'm going to do everything I can to offer to Dan the opportunity of co-creating a world that is like God intends, where two or more gather, there is love, where there's union, connection, empowerment, upliftment, cooperation, collaboration. If we are committed to thinking with God, that's the result. If we block God, we will create a world that won't be real. Once we let it go, it was just an experience that two people had, and then poof, it goes away. It stays in our mind because ideas don't leave their thoughts, but it never becomes a real thing. If you are real, the world you see is false, for God's creation is unlike the world in every way, and as it was, well, let's just stop there. Let me read that again. If you are real, the world you see is false, for God's creation is unlike the world in every way. God's creation is unlike the world that we see in every way. Sentence number 6, paragraph 11. And as it was his thought by which you were created, so it is your thoughts which made it and must set it free, that you may know the thought you share with God. So God creates his world, gives it to us, and says, this is a playground, enjoy it. I make thoughts about it, block the playground, and create some suffering for myself. I need to be the one who chooses to stop seeing it unlike God, stop seeing it as a place of suffering, and unite my thoughts with God. God doesn't have to unite his thoughts with me because they're in me already. I just need to stop blocking God's thoughts so that I can flow with God's thinking. Paragraph 12, release the world. Your real creations wait for this release to give you fatherhood, not of illusions, but as God in truth. When we release ourselves from blocking the truth, we become the parent, the creator of something beautiful, co-creator with God. So we got to take responsibility for everything that we're experiencing. It's mind-made. My mind is making it by blocking what God has decided, or God's mind created it and I'm flowing with it in co-creation. God shares his fatherhood with you, who is his son, his daughter, For he makes no distinction in what is himself and what is still himself. See, God knows that it is God and we are still like God because God creates like God. Love creates like love. We are love expressed or love suppressed by a thought in our mind. No distinction. What he creates is not apart from him. And nowhere does the Father end, the Son begin as something separate from him. So we are exactly as God has always been. Never will there be separation except for the thoughts that we have about ourselves and God. Paragraph 13, there is no world because it is a thought apart from God. This miserable world the ego has made is a thought apart from God, is a thought that parts the way between us and God, that creates a block between us and God. And made to separate the Father and the Son and break away a part of God himself and thus destroy his wholeness. So when we pull ourselves away, draw a circle around us and say, this is who I am, this is my body, and this is my ego saying I am separate, we are creating an experience of separation, and we've been taught God is outside of us. So it makes sense that people who were not one with the Father, like Jesus said, I and the Father are one, said, no, the Father is out there, nobody can be one with the Father. You got to do all these things to get to the Father. Well, we're hearing that the truth is that we are inside God. We cannot be other than one with God. And God is energy, so it's inside of us. It's everywhere, all at once. Can a world which comes from this idea be real? That I have more power to block God? Crazy. It's the last time I made a universe. I haven't done that. So I know that God has more power than I, and if God is telling me this is the truth, by gosh, I'm going to follow it. I learned to give up my arrogance and think that I know better than God, and that's when I began to recognize my ignorance of the truth of God that I really did not know because my arrogance blocked me from it. All right, can a world which comes from this be real? Can it be anywhere? Deny illusions, but accept the truth. Deny you are a shadow briefly laid upon a dying world. Deny that you are temporary. Release your mind and you will look upon a world released. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Paragraph 14. Today, our purpose is to free the world from all the idle thoughts we ever held about it and about all living things we see upon it. They cannot be there. No more can we, for we are in the home our Father set for us along with them. We're in the mind of God. This is heaven on earth if we make it so. This is paradise if we make it so. This is the kingdom of heaven if we let it be. But we have to then begin to treat each other as one. We cannot say we're in heaven and there's other people. We must see everybody else as the presence of love or a call for love so that we can then treat everybody with compassion. Ken was suffering with his fears. And I just didn't have the maturity, the spiritual maturity to really see that and sustain that. I saw it at first, and then my ego got active and I got protective, and then I didn't see him as just as much a wounded child as I was. Then I had to do my work to return myself, to God, and that's where the Course in Miracles came in to help clean up my mind. Because as spiritual as I was, as much knowledge and truth as I had, I needed something of an ongoing practice to keep me on track. That's what the Course in Miracles was for me. That daily reminder, daily practice. Sentence number 5, and we who are, as he created us, would loose the world this day from every one of our illusions, that we may be free. You got to want it. You got to want it. Why? Because you wanted it to be separate. You got to want it to be whole. You wanted it to be fearful. So you got to want it to be love. You want it to be your own authority. Now you got to relinquish it because it's not serving you. It didn't serve me. My own authority was making up judgments and condemning other people. That did not make me happy. That put me in bondage and scared the daylights out of me. So, paragraph 15, begin the 15-minute period in which we practice twice today with this. I who remain as God created me would lose the world from all I thought it was. For I am real because the world is not, and I would know my own reality. This is a statement of truth that you're making. Now you got to practice it over and over and over again. Sentence 4, then merely rest, alert, but with no strain, and let your mind in quietness be changed so that the world is freed along with you. Let your mind go to that quiet place. Oh, those thoughts are not real. Nope, I'm not going to believe those thoughts. They will begin to move when you don't engage in them. When you don't fight them, they will go away. But when you fight them, you're resisting them, they will stay, because what we resist persists. But when you say, I who remain as God created me, would lose the world from all I thought it was. I'm going to release the world from what it was. I'm going to loosen those chains that bind. I'm going to loosen that tether. For I am real because the world is not. And I own now, and I would now know my own reality. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to come into the real world where God is, and I'm going to come in here and meet God, and God then will tell me how to see the world with the meaning that God gave it. Paragraph 16. You need not realize that healing comes to any brother far across the world, as well as to the ones you see nearby, as you send out these thoughts to bless the world. You don't need to know that this is going to work. You just need to trust that it will. Let it do its thing. You don't need to go look for evidence. You don't need to go see, did this help anybody? You don't need to send out a message to the whole world. Hey, I just had a prayer, 5 minutes ago. Did I release you? It does not matter. You just send it out and trust that it will get to where it goes. But you will sense your own release. Because when you release the world of your hate and your anger and your condemnation, you feel it here. It's a big, it's an opening. I'm not judging. I'm in joy. I'm not condemning. I'm in compassion. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Although you may not fully understand as yet that you could never be released alone. So they get released. But you are the one who's going to feel it, because giving is receiving, because we're only giving to ourselves always here. Paragraph 17. Throughout the day, increase the freedom sent throughout your ideas to all the world, and say whenever you are tempted to deny the power of your simple change of mind, I lose the world from all I thought it was and choose my own reality instead. I let go of Ken being what my thoughts wanted him to be, my ego thoughts wanted him to be, and I chose my own reality. I am love, so I'm going to love you. I had to let him go of being the bad person, the bully, the one who was hurting me or attacking me or keeping me from my freedom, so that I could reconnect with God, so God could show me where my freedom really was, so that God could show me that I was the presence of love through my act of loving him enough to release him. This stuff works, but you got to do it. This is truth. But you got to accept it. This will free you, but you got to want it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.